Back with Grand Tactician Civil War, our CSA campaign. Things have been going well for the Confederacy. In our last episode, following a battle near Alexandria, Alexandria was recaptured and the way was open into Washington, D.C. Beauregard crossed the Potomac right into the city without further fighting, and the federal capital has fallen. In the West, in our last episode, the Army of the Missouri under Sterling Price reached St. Louis. Army of the Kentucky had come over from, Kentucky, attacked us there and was rebuffed, and they have retreated across the Mississippi River. Looks like they're headed for Vandalia, Illinois. In St. Louis, we're just within a few days of completing the capture of St. Louis, which should induce the state of Missouri to secede and join the Confederacy. That's all good news. They have won what looked like a fairly major setback, but turned out not to be as much. McClellan's Army of Occupation, along with the West Virginia militia, came from the west and besieged one of our forts at Winchester. Johnston's Army of the Shenandoah was involved in that. Somewhat unexpectedly, the Federals won that siege, and the fort garrison is retreating. I say it wasn't as big as a deal as it first looked, because I thought that would mean our army would retreat as well. It is not retreating. Its readiness is fine. It's got about 17,000. No. Morale, 8.1%. I didn't notice that before. Okay. So Johnston is not retreating. However, he cannot fight. Readiness is fine, just no morale there. It's got pretty fast morale recovery due to, partly because Johnston's a pretty good commander and we're on home territory. But at least for the near-term future, if McClellan moves on us, we're going to have to retreat and potentially lose Winchester. On the other hand, he's sitting there building a supply depot, so it doesn't look like he's intending to move immediately. And he may have taken his own readiness and morale degradation during the siege as well. This army did gain a perk slot, so I'm going to go with Flying Column, I think. It's kind of one of my typical perks for a corps or small army. Typically I like Flying Column. I like skilled cartographers, which improves movement and intel, and I like the pontoon bridge perk, not so much for its river crossing benefit, but because it makes the army more efficient on supply. Those are the ones I usually go with for a typical field army corps. Different armies that maybe I foresee doing more fort sieges. Of course, I give them the siege warfare perk, which is pretty good. And then smaller forces intended just to run around and build forts and supply depots and telegraph stations. Of course, I give them the engineer perk, which is what I've done with our engineering force, currently building the telegraph line up into Missouri, which he's headed up here to Batesville to drop in the next telegraph station on the way. Batesville should just be in range of this last telegraph station at Helena. So that's continuing. So overall, and finally, we've got, originally was going to leave them stationary through the winter. However, when McClellan and the associated West Virginia militia moved on this siege, Garland is now bringing the Western Virginia Army up to reclaim Grafton for the state of Virginia. And also, he needs that supply depot because currently he's on 0% supply flow. I think he must have just gone out of range because he's still got good stocks of provisions and forage, but that's going to burn out fast by the time he gets to Grafton. We are in a little, I wouldn't say in trouble at all. However, by taking Washington, Beauregard's Army of Northern Virginia is... Oh, he's got a perk too. Flying Corps. He's in a little bit of a situation in that by taking Washington, he has essentially immobilized himself in the sense that now we've taken this capital city and it's way too important to let go. Other than our own capital, which is way down in Alabama, there's almost literally no other point on the map that is more important to defend now for the Confederacy. And so Beauregard's got to stay here. And he's got an army to the south, an army to the north. There's a fort here, a fort here. I thought about, running up here, defeating Patterson, doubling back south, and defeating McDowell again. But I'm not sure that the zone of controls of these forts is really going to allow that. I think I'm kind of locked into not being so dynamic, at least for the time being. Also, I'm not worried about any individual battle against either one of these forces in their current state. But if we have to fight several in a row in fairly quick succession, that could degrade our ammunition and readiness. So there's that to consider. And then the final thing is, as I mentioned, I think in the last episode, I thought by taking Washington we would grab this supply depot, which is chock full of stuff. I mean, there's like over 600 provisions there. 320 forage. We need this. I thought it would flip, but apparently it's being controlled by Annapolis or Baltimore. I'm just going to edge Beauregard a little bit closer to it and see if that will grab this supply depot. And then meanwhile, Johnson's just going to have to do what he can to counter any further moves by these forces. So I hope his morale comes back up quickly. 20% regain rate's pretty quick, so I don't know if that's per day, per week, what have you, but I think he'll be all right. If he does have to withdraw, if contact is made, he'll have to fall back to but he'll be able to come back and re-engage fairly quickly. If we do lose Winchester, I don't think we're going to lose it for long. Anyway, that's the situation as we begin the episode, and let's get time rolling. St. Louis. Oh, nope, still Union. And the Union has gone to 3-year contracts. Where do we stand right now for... We have 100,000 in uniform and a volunteer pool of 43,000. We've actually got... Basically, we're even, but about 4,500 more men in uniform right now than the Union. Of course, our Navy is way, way smaller. After loss of the capital, here it is. So we're still in 1861, and the Union national morale is already below 50 due to losing Washington. It's about to take another pop from losing St. Louis, I believe. And as soon as the city is taken, we should take control of this. Ooh, there's a pretty nice factory there too. Should take control of that supply depot as well. In some fashion, not exactly sure how yet, we also need to grab Cairo, Illinois. I'm not particularly all that interested in getting a whole bunch of territory in the state of Illinois, but Cairo is important for the line of communication supply up to St. Louis, and would also pretty much extend our control of the Mississippi River up here to the to where the Missouri and the Mississippi come together at St. Louis. Okay, engineers are at Batesville. Let's get that telegraph station going. If give me a there we go. And then we'll have to see where exactly that zone of control or radius of effect, how far this telegraph station reaches. Figure out exactly where to put the next one, and hopefully we can get one. Hopefully we only have to build one more to connect to St. Louis. Anything going on here? Nope, McClellan is staying put. He's actually got some attrition going on. Okay, morale's coming up. We're up to unstable now. I think Garnett has just gotten to Grafton, Virginia. He's already gotten the supply depot and is capturing the city. Yeah, and he's actually not in bad shape for provisions. Didn't lose much. It's a historical flavor newspaper headline. How are we doing on our... We were working on that same policy, the 3-year contracts. We still got 2 weeks. Having unlocked that policy, though, I think the Union troop numbers are about to start shooting up. I did notice over in Missouri there's another army forming up to the north, the Army of Iowa. Over there. We've just issued more bonds. Okay, so we're down to BBB even. We may not be far off from having to go for the government funding policy in that tab. And yeah, we got this. We got control of this supply depot now. That's a good thing. So, how maybe it would... We're just a few days away from going into the winter. Might not be a bad idea to start building some forts around DC. Had a little bit of a problem building 2 at a time recently, but let's get one north and one south for now. And that way Beauregard can keep building XP toward opening his second perk slot, which is more than halfway there already. And he can also do some training. Johnson's army up to stable now. Oh, there it says right there. Weekly morale influence. So if he's doing 20% per week, then we got about 3 weeks for him to max out again. And this supply depot is going to be ready in a week for the Union, which might be the point at which they decide to move again. I don't see this bar going down. I wonder if... Is the Union building this fort now? Repairing it and make it a federal fort? Okay, France is messing with Mexico. Kind of historical flavor, but that is somewhat tied to... Indirectly, it is tied to a policy. I mentioned it in the very first episode, but there is a policy here for support Mexican intervention, where the Confederacy goes and helps out the French, who are messing with Mexico. The benefit being increases the chance of European intervention and European relations at the cost of what the tooltip says, number of recruits in Texas minus 50%. I have never seen this occur in any of my campaigns. I don't believe I've ever seen the AI take that policy before, or if they did, well, if they did, I wouldn't necessarily have seen the effect of it from the other side. But I have seen in other posted YouTube videos of this game, there's something wonky with this policy. It doesn't just take 50% of the recruits in the state of Texas. It apparently just drains all the volunteers out of the manpower pool entirely. And I wouldn't mention if I'd only seen it once, but I've seen it happen twice now in two different people's campaigns, and the timing is, it would be super coincidental if there was another reason for it. So this policy, if you ever play CSA, unless you see an explicit, hey, fix this bug sort of message in an update at some point, I would recommend don't touch that one. Anyway, okay, let's keep going. Have we taken St. Louis yet? Yes. Okay, well, I would have thought that was I thought that was supposed to make it flip. Because what, okay. Capture Missouri, no. Capture St. Louis, check. Defeat all the Union armies in Missouri. Check. We've done that. We have fought at least 5, maybe 6 battles in Missouri and won every one of them. Army of Kentucky was defeated here, and they've retreated out. They're building their supply depot at Vandalia. This is the Army, I forgot what Lyon's army was, Army of the West, I think. They've been defeated at least once, maybe twice. And then there was the Army of Mississippi, and frankly, I don't know where they've run off to. And this is the Army of the Mississippi here. Army of the West, Lyons, is over here. But this army, and this army have all been defeated. So what do I have left to do to fulfill that particular Army of Iowa's way up here? October, I don't think this army could possibly have made it down inside the boundary of Missouri yet. That location report is about a week and a half old. Do I have to capture St. Louis and then afterward defeat every army in Missouri? Huh. Or maybe just time needs to roll a little bit more and it'll get fulfilled tomorrow or something. I've seen things like that too. So let's let time roll just a little bit more. I don't really want to start running around now because we're in winter quarters and movement will be slower, attrition will be higher, supply will be more problematic. The campaigning season is more or less over. Which means fort building time for Price. I'll move him a little bit. I'd kind of like to get a fort. Well, let's get one right here on the Mississippi River. They can block river movement. Let's do that first, so we can build a fort about like that. Another one about like I'd like to get it further up here. I'm just going to let him build this fort, and then I'm going to move him just a little bit up here. The short little distance like that won't be a big deal in the wintertime, and then I'm going to put a fort up here right where the Missouri, the Mississippi, and whatever river this is come together. I don't know if this one's even navigable, though. Is there a port? Yeah, there is a port up this way. So yeah, a fort right there would be a good spot against river fleets. I wonder if there is a way this looks like as far navigable as this river can be. This probably isn't navigable by a fleet. Right where you see this little spot, like when you see this on a river, that's usually as far as I've ever seen a ship been able to go up, where it narrows real quick. The reason I'm looking at this, I'm just wondering if there is a way, like via a canal or something, for fleets to connect and travel between the Great Lakes and the Mississippi River system. Maybe up here in Minnesota. No? I don't think so. Okay, this telegraph is done. Almost as far as Fredericktown, so we could put a telegraph station here. And what is the radius of this telegraph station? Okay, so there's an overlap here. If we put a station right here, that should connect St. Louis to the Confederacy's telegraph system. Alright, I don't care if it is winter. Get up there. If you get ambushed and wiped out, well, I'll just build another little bitty engineering corps. Let me turn those circles back off. I feel like, oh, let's check the HQ and see if those brigades are ready. Some of them have gotten here, but they're not up to full readiness yet. So we'll let Bragg continue to train those guys up. This this little force, I guess what I'll do is I'll just transfer this artillery battery into one of the corps, or one of the armies. There's still armies at this point. Hopefully over the winter I'm able to get the military 2 policy unlocked and form some proper armies. How's Johnson doing? He's up to stable. I think he was stable last time I checked, but his percentage is higher. He's almost 60% now. Which means if he were to fight a battle right now against these two forces, the morale might be pretty even. They've still got their attrition problems, their condition may be poor, and they're in Confederate territory. So, okay, Jefferson Davis is now officially the Confederate president. I did have one, before I came up with that HQ idea, I had recruited one brigade directly into the Shenandoah Army. It's this one. He's there now. That helps. So now Johnston's over 20,000 men. That's good. McClellan's almost got his depot done. Okay, we have more fighting to do in Missouri. Army of the Mississippi is coming at us, 16,000 men, and we have 12,000. We have a lot more artillery, though. And hopefully this means that we are being attacked, therefore we will have a defensive battle, which both historically and in this game is advantageous, generally speaking. Maybe this battle will flip Missouri to the Confederacy. Maybe I need to defeat them now. In any case, this has been running for a while. This will do for this episode, and we'll come back in the next episode, which I will schedule for posting just about the same time as this one, for the Second Battle of St. Louis. Thank you for watching.